Yeah, I think this is just a different type of match. It's not often that you play the same opponent, so quickly back to back. This is our third game against them. Very, very tough team to play against, and we had a very specific game plan to match what we know. And the players just did an amazing job carrying that out and competing, and it was a battle, and perhaps we could have scored a few more goals, but the job was to advance, and we're thrilled that we did that. And of course, we have a lot more football in us, so we're always looking at that. And I think there were more opportunities to put the ball down and play, but the game didn't necessarily require that in this particular moment, and we're really ready to take a step together, get down to San Diego, and keep it moving.
Hey, how you doing? Congrats on the win. Crystal Rich, KTLA. This was an incredibly chippy game in that first half. 4 yellow cards in 20 minutes for both teams. What did you see out of just the passion that was brought into the game, and how did you kind of calm things down in the second half?
Yeah, I think it was we knew it would be a big physical battle, and you're always looking early on in a game to see how the referees are going to what their choices are going to be early on and how that affects the game moving on. I thought we did a really good job of dealing with, the physicality, matching physicality, imposing ourselves, but also being very mindful, in the moments where it could be easy to be a little less professional. I think the penalty kick is a great example of that. We knew, for instance, that they might walk into the box, have several players around the box, how important it was to protect the ball, and also the penalty spot area. And I think, it took a long time to get that penalty taken. And I think the professionalism that you saw in our players and the ability to go from, high energy, front foot, physical, to just take a deep breath and get it done is what we ask of them. And they did a great job delivering, and that's just a microcosm for basically the whole game, I think. So, yeah.
Over here, sorry. Elena Valdez para Match the Woman. Coach, lining up Alex Morgan as the lining up starting, did you thought that having a center forward would be would solve the match that easily?
Definitely being on the front foot and making sure that our 9 and 10 were ready to defend was a really important thing in the game. We knew that it was likely that most of our chances would come from transition, and making sure that we had very clear roles and responsibilities between the two of them was really important. And I thought Alex did a tremendous job, had a very veteran performance, had a very strong performance, led in a lot of ways, and I thought Lindsay was right there with her, and the team followed.
Right here to your right.
Hi, Twila. Scott French from Soccer America. I wanted to get your thoughts, first off, on Jenna Neiswanger, and what you like about her, what you see in her. And then also, you've got Canada next. It's obviously a long-standing rivalry and sometimes a pretty good game. What are you looking at in that one, and what are going to be keys to that?
Yeah, we're really, really pleased with Jenna. She fulfilled different roles and responsibilities today than we've asked her in the past. We asked her to get higher up the field. And actually, the goal she scored is indicative of that. You could see where her starting position was on the set piece is pretty much where she was the majority of the game when we were in possession. And she just has a really good ability to read the game and play simply. And obviously, it doesn't hurt to have a left foot. She's capable of playing multiple positions, and I would expect at some point in her career that she'll play multiple positions for us. But you can see her ability to play fulfill different roles even within that position is just so key. And yeah, Canada is another, country that's close to us. We've played many times. It's always a good game. We're looking forward to that. And I think the keys will be a little bit of a mix of what we saw tonight in terms of being on the front foot, making sure that we are making it uncomfortable when we're defending, that we're looking to create defending moments that lead to transition. These repeatable moments, the ball from Trin to Jaden for the third goal, those are like-for-like opportunities that we've been creating all tournament, and that's going to be a big key, but also making sure that when we are in possession and the games, we can slow the game down just a little bit, keep the ball moving, move them, and continue to work on some of the things that have led to those same moments that you saw in transition, but from open play.
Right to your left.
Hi, Twila. Damian Calhoun, LA Daily News. After the Mexico loss in training, when did you see the shift sort of focus in the group that they were ready for a game like this tonight?
You know, I think we're always ready, and there's not a training just to be in the environment alone. You have to be locked in, you have to be sharp, you have to be ready, you have to be studied, and we genuinely didn't do anything different than we do every day. And that's the key to being able to be part of this program, is that to be able to show up when it's going well, show up when it's not going so well, and be the same player, execute in the same ways. And it was really just about regrouping from obviously a tough moment and identifying not just how we want to grow and some of the things that we need to fix, but also directly related to our next opponent, make sure we had those ducks in a row.
Coach, congratulations. Edward Kawich with LA Times en Español. We're in the semifinals. We're going to the semifinals. Are these the 4 teams that you expected to see in the tournament at this stage?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer for that. I focused on us, and we've prepared to play a multitude of opponents ahead of the tournament in terms of our preparation. So we're ready for all of them, and we're ready for anybody that's put in front of us, Canada next.
Right here in the front.
Hi, Evan Davis from Equalizer. Olivia Moultrie and Alex Morgan both had pretty big chances that just went a little bit begging in the second half. In the lead up to those chances and the chances themselves, did they feel typical of the ways in which you guys were playing in the final 45 minutes, or did they feel like little punctured moments out of what the flow of the game had been up to that point?
Yeah, I think the whole game was pretty disruptive. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this is an opponent that is very successful at playing the way they play with very little ball in play. So the game is going to be less ball, running on the pitch. And then I think somebody in here mentioned that it was a bit physical and was broken up quite a bit. So I think those moments were a little, I'm not sure what word you used, but I would agree with that. But I think the key is that, like the moment that I recall that you might be referring to with Olivia, is almost the identical moment that we've been setting up all tournament, where, the ball's in what we call a penetration area, but in a half space, and the ball's being played across. And we have runners ready potentially for a first time tap in. And that is the key, that we're able to create those moments. Would we like to create more of them? Absolutely. But to get those moments in a game where the ball's not in play very often, and it's as physical as it was, and the game state, once the game state changes, then teams are going to shift in the way they play, trying to chase a goal, so that affects play as well. And I think we're in a good spot moving forward, and hope to see more of those moments across the tournament.
Okay, we'll take some questions from media joining us virtually, and we'll continue with Meg Linehan. Go ahead, Meg.
Twila, just in terms of, I feel like we've heard a lot about the team wanting to play out of the back and have this sort of creative identity, but also it feels like tonight, that identity got shifted in that you were playing out of the back, but in a very direct fashion. And I'm just wondering, how do you maybe balance those two things where, you can take advantage of being on the front foot, but also not necessarily change what the ultimate goal is?
Yeah, the ultimate goal is to take what the opponent gives us, and we're not limited to just one way of doing things. And I think that's the key that one of the keys that we identified against Mexico. Of course, we want to build, and we can continue to try and do things, but if they give us an opportunity to play in behind and aren't prepared to deal with that, we're going to take that and wait for them to adjust. And then maybe the game presents different things that now they're behind the ball, and it maybe they're spread out a little bit and requires us to build a little bit more through the middle, but we're capable of doing both, and that's a big key. So, yeah, it's about taking what an opponent gives us and making sure that we're just identifying those moments early, and then when there's a shift, to be able to pivot to something else. And one thing that we know about Colombia, having played them multiple times, is that they like to press back passes. So we were very keen to play forward today as a tactic, and that nullifies a lot of what they do. And it was good for us. Some of those direct balls weren't meant just to play direct, but to allow us to get into an area of the field where we could potentially settle the ball and play and move the ball higher up the pitch. So the players did a really good job with that, and we're very pleased.
And we'll take one last question from Jonathan Tannenwald. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thanks. Hi, Twila. Congratulations. Jonathan Tannenwald, the Philadelphia Inquirer. You mentioned the physicality of the game, and it seemed also not just the physicality per se, but that there was a certain sort of ethos of sort of a snarl and a bite from your team that maybe we hadn't always seen quite the same way, at least from afar, in recent months. And I was wondering if you saw that too and what it was like to take it in from the sideline. Thank you.
Yeah, I get to see that a lot, quite a bit at training. And I actually think the last time we played Colombia, there was a pretty similar vibe, ethos, and whatever you want to call it that you just said. And I think we always have bite. But I think tonight part of the key was to play in their third, because, you know, anytime it's this physical, and you don't want to put a referee in a situation where they're asked to potentially make those calls closer to your goal. So that was a big identifying factor for us today. And part of that is being on the front foot defensively and locking them into an area where you hope to win the ball and have your repeated moments and win it back and try again, or move the ball higher up the field. But that was definitely part of what we were trying to achieve.
Okay, that concludes this press conference today. Thank you, Coach, and we'll be back shortly.